Welcome back to the eSports Report presented by the Xbox One. Mr. X Benson here in the New York studio. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. You look extra sharp today. Extra dapper.
Now, this is what I was told we were supposed to wear, Ben, obviously.
No one I didn't get the email.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
You do look sharp.
I'm trying to look all right. Anyway, some good night of Pro League last night.
Yeah, it kicked off yesterday.
Yeah. Some exciting stuff went on.
Yeah, we can actually go straight into all the stuff we have planned for today's show. It's going to be a good one. Of course, we're going to take a look at all of the games as they happened yesterday as well. We have our cast of predictions, which we're keeping in full track of this season. You're actually winning, but we'll touch on that later on. As well, we have the schedule for what's going to be happening this evening, and of course, a little bit of storylines as to what we expect to go on as well in some of the games today, because I think the Pro League schedule, as some of you may, should by now at least know, has changed pretty drastically. Rather than, what was it, like 44 games now?
Yeah, it was 44, now 22.
Yeah, so drastically decreased them. We actually get to broadcast every single one of the games. So
not a bad thing for you
guys. Exactly. But let's dive straight into it. Yes. Starting with first game of the day yesterday, Envy. Wow, let's talk about them. Kind of blows the series versus OG.
Yeah, they really, they win the first, S&D, and then, Optic wins the first hardpoint. Makes the series 1-1. Ben goes into this Biolab uplink, and OG with a terrible misplay here in the final seconds. You see it on your screen. Going for the pass. The Krim actually goes to that 1-point score instead of the 2 points. So they try to pass it to Krim. He's actually in the goal when the pass goes up. The ball goes into the goal. OG loses that one 9-10.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate there for Optic Gaming. And once again, if you miss it, you see the pass come in, but unfortunately the pass goes straight through Route 1, goes in. So just a 1-point score, and Envy go 2-1 up, as you said. And that, of course, means Envy have a chance to close it out. Drift, hardpoint.
Yes. And especially, OG looking pretty shaky on this map. They hadn't played it before.
Never?
That was kind of,
never played it.
That was the word going in, that they had never played Drift hardpoint before. So going into this one, you expected Envy to take it, but you see, through the first half of the game, it was Envy in control, and then Optic started to pull away there towards the end. Took a big victory.
Now looking at that basically tells you, that whole first half of rotations, Optic were behind and Envy were on top. Was this basically Optic kind of learning?
Yeah, they were feeling the map out a little bit. Karma picked up some big kills. He was able to, hold down the hard points, pick up some crucial kills on those, extend the time for OG in the second half.
And then, of course, heading into a game 5, Envy looked poised to beat Optic, essentially, which would have been a very, very big upset to kind of kick off the Pro League. And we have a couple of highlights from the rounds as well. Kicking things off at round number 10, so second to last round, and it was a very, very close one, Matt.
Yeah, Envy goes up in this one, 5-2. And then OG starts to make the comeback. See right here, this is going to be round number 10. However, Formal got off to a rough start, started to pick things up here towards the end, forces that round 11.
I mean, that was a big play from Formal, as you said. Had a bit of a rough start at the beginning of the game, but was able to pick it up. Some nice shiny camos there as well. Of course, this forces a round 11, and honestly, if you'd have told me, at the start of yesterday, that Envy versus Optic Gaming would go to a game 5, round 11, I would have looked at you as if you were crazy, but it did, and that Formal returned to his form.
This was a very fast round, Ben. Optic comes down after this first pick by Formal, and they just run through Envy here, picking up tons of kills left and right. This round felt like it lasted 30-40 seconds, a little bit longer than that, as Envy, and they kind of lose their momentum, lose their steam. I felt like they gave this series to Optic Gaming a little bit.
I mean, yeah. Especially after they were kind of gifted that uplink too. You have to kind of go back to that original misplay and how big of a factor that could have been. But Optic still managed to come out strong and close it out in this round 11. As you can see, Looney on your screen is just playing as passive as he possibly could. But as you said, after that first blood, was never really looking as if Envy could come back into this round 11, and everyone starts to fall. These Aqua in a 1 versus 4. One simply doesn't clutch a 1 versus 4 against Optic Gaming, Matt.
No, I mean, Aqua kind of struggled in this one, but Octane really 1-8 for Envy. JCap got off to a great start, played pretty good here in the S&D, just not enough for Envy to take on Optic here.
Yep, so Optic starting off their Season 3 with a win, pretty important, but of course Optic and Envy weren't the only two teams to go the distance, as well as that we had TK and Denial in a very, very close game and a close matchup between them. Of course, TK as well. In the news, roster mania going on, managing to pick up a brand new squad.
Yeah, roster change for TK yesterday. That's the old roster. It's Nameless, Sharp, TJ, and Goon. They changed the roster up. They release TJ and Goon. They pick up Nezlo and Theory, some familiar faces to TK.
I mean, this was just hours before Season 3 began.
Like
literally
2 hours.
Hours before TK come out with a big, big move. And it's kind of interesting because we talk about TK and the kind of players that they go after. Once again, you're seeing very familiar faces under that TK brand.
Yeah. You know, TK not going to step outside their comfort zone, going to pick up some players that they're used to. Everybody going to move into the house after Dallas, expecting some big things to happen after that.
And of course, you know, speaking of TK, we'll kind of let you know exactly what happened in their game. They showed a lot of sign of promise as well. Nameless coming out, map number 1, dropped the first 50 bomb of Season 3.
Yeah. I mean, he played pretty sick. I mean, Nameless is going to have to be that main slayer for TK. They're going to make something happen. I mean, you know, when I say make something happen, really, you know, qualify for Season 3 playoffs. And when I say qualify, I mean not have it come down to the last week. Has it come down to the last, you know, 2 seasons for TK. Nameless, a big reason why they started off hot last night.
Did anyone really have Nameless to drop the first 50 bomb Season 3?
No, probably not. No, I think Maven last night thought this was on host. It actually was not on host. So
really?
Nameless, yeah, with a huge game here in game number 1.
For you, Matt, how important is Nameless in the overall success
he's huge.
for TK?
He's huge. He's the only person who's been, you know, historically on this team who's been able to slay with the top in Call of Duty. I mean, Nameless has been on some big name rosters in COD. Going to be looking to see him, you know, take on the brunt of the slaying department.
Well, Nameless with, again, fantastic performance from him. First 50 bomb of the season, and that actually led to Denal going down 2-1, heading into a solar hard point, where they made some adjustments to their team setup, Matt. What happened in that game?
Yeah, you know, we saw Hook in the first hard point. He really struggled with the ASM-1. You see right there on retreat, finishes 13 and 29, a .45 KD. Hook with the AR on retreat, 7 and 5, so you see a little bit better. And then once he runs it for the entire map of Solar, 43 and 23. Spoke to Hook at X Games. He wants to be an AR. You see how much better he is with the AR than the ASM-1. And this is the question with this Denal roster. It's like, are they going to be able to make it work with the roles they have?
I mean, you know, you look at that, and the stats are very, very, like, big difference between them. And it begs the question, you know, how good are Denal going to be on those certain maps where you need more SMGs than your assault rifles? Because one thing's for sure, his AR is great.
Oh, his AR is great.
Unbelievable assault rifle. But will they be able to hang with teams who have such aggressive SMGs?
It's hard. Now, you're going to put a lot of pressure on Replays. I mean, if Replays doesn't come up big, I mean, the first map they lost retreat, Replays drops 40, Temp with 40 as well, 40 plus, and they don't win. Because Hook doesn't come up big with the ASM-1. They're going to need somebody else to really fill that role, you know, on a consistent basis. Well,
Denal was actually able to close out that series as well with a 6-2 win on Riot S&D in that map number 5. So went the distance, but it didn't go all the way the distance.
Yeah, Denial kind of pretty comfortable there in game 5.
Did they look like overly comfortable? Like didn't seem to be. No,
you never got the feeling that TK was going to win that one.
Okay, well, moving on as well during the night. After picking up what seems like TK scraps, Rise headed into their first match versus Epsilon with, let's be honest, a very uncertain roster.
Yeah, so this was their roster at the beginning of the day yesterday. It's Chino, Wheats, was Nezlo, and Theory, as we talked about before. And then you see their roster at the end of the day. Chino, Wheats gets a haircut during the day, TJ, and Goon. So you see, that's their roster by the end of the night.
It was a shocking couple of hours right before the season started.
Yeah.
And, you know, I heard rumors that this was a trade, but it wasn't actually a trade.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was TK pinched 2 of Nezlo's players, and then they were kind of left to just kind of struggle, but Rise managed to field a team. So, you know, props to them for that. But we'll talk about this young man, TJ, key player of the matchup last night.
Yep. They take the series 3-1 last night against Epsilon. Nobody really saw that one coming. We all took Epsilon. TJ, the real reason why. I mean, the overall KD from last night, a 1.39. Uplane KD, a 1.39. S&D, a 1.14. Hardpoint, a 1.42. 39 in the slaying department. I mean, the kid's amazing. I mean, regardless of what, you know, sometimes at the beginning of every season, I feel like kind of get screwed a little bit. You know, some team issues happen. We saw it last season. No, he was unaware. They sold the TCM. He kind of found himself looking for a team. He ends up on Elevate. After Elevate makes a few changes, they go on. They play pretty well. I mean, clear cut, one of the top teams going into Season 2 playoffs. And in the first season, no, he was unaware. They make some questionable moves there. then he ends up going to Stunner, and they do really well at the beginning of the game. So TJ's always had success in Advanced Warfare. I think going to be no different here on Rise. Had a great night, number 1.
I mean, TJ really leading that charge to what I guess most people would consider an upset against Epsilon.NA. I mean, I think we all had Epsilon coming out and actually taking this series, especially after we learned what was going on with the teams. You know, teams just been thrown together. You don't expect them to come out and play as strong as they did, but a 3-1 win. I mean, Solo Hardpoint was, what, 211 to 182. TJ leads that lobby with a massive 39 kills.
Yeah, and then Biolab was silly. Biolab was silly. I mean, TJ goes, he finishes 46 kills, leads the lobby again. They win 228 to 189. So many kills. He has a crazy night yesterday.
So I guess one of the big questions on a lot of people's minds right now is who won the trade? Of course, trade in kind of inverted commas because it wasn't officially a trade, but we kind of talked about it with, you know, the Now a couple of seasons ago. Now all of a sudden we're talking to again, but I feel like the players who kind of got dropped like TJ,
me and Maven
they have that hunger.
Right, they have a lot of hunger, and then me and Maven last night just kind of talking during the broadcast were, you know, are the 2 players that TK got significantly stronger than the 2 players that Ryzen's getting? I don't think so. I think, if anything, you can make the argument that TJ and Goon are stronger too right now.
Really?
Than Neslo in theory.
I feel like with both of those trades, you have one player who you can kind of look at and be like, okay, this guy's solid. And then another player who you look at and it's like, what are we going to get? Goonjaw, for the most of AW, has been pretty inconsistent.
The last few events, though, Goon's been really good.
He has been playing well. How did he play yesterday?
He's pretty good.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, in all honesty, you could make an argument for either side. I mean, which side are you kind of bordering on right now?
I think that Rise definitely...
Rise won the trade?
Yeah, won this one.
Trade, again.
Trade, quote-unquote trade.
Not really a trade.
I think Goon, you know, he's kind of on the up in AW. We've seen him get better as the game's gone on, had 2 pretty good events the last 2. You know, him and Sharp are a big reason why TK had a pretty good performance at X Games. And then you look, TJ, he's been a strong performer all throughout. You look on the other side, what TK ends up getting. I mean, Theory, when he leaves TK, probably their strongest performer at that time.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. But it kind of reminds me of his like run during Ghost. Like he was really strong, then goes to FaZe Red, and FaZe Red struggles, and then kind of goes back to TK. It's kind of the same thing.
It's the same thing, right? It's exactly the same.
And then they also get Neslo, who we haven't seen Neslo do anything really against top competition in AW.
I mean, he had a great clutch at Champs, and that's really about it.
Yeah, with SB.
That's all on his AW.
With SB on Terrace, he had a great clutch at Champs, but other than that, haven't really seen him do much against the top.
It's weird.
I think Ryan's definitely in a good spot after this. You know, Chino, he's been up and down in AW, but Wheats has been really good post-champs.
Wheats has been very, very good. Got to give him some props to that. One quick question, obviously, you know, you yourself used to kind of run the organization at EG. You didn't run it technically, but great coach. You kind of knew exactly what was going on.
I did a lot of management.
In terms of how the players are going to be feeling after being kind of dropped, picked up, I mean, if you ask me, how many times has Theory been on TK at this point? It's like, come on. Like
when you bring in new players, you always want to make them feel like they're at home, like right away.
Right.
I mean, towards the end, when I was with EG, like we ended up bringing in Dito, and I kind of like we were handling all that situation internally. And as soon as Dito signed up, we made him feel right at home. You know, we got him everything he needed.
Right.
Took care of everything he wanted right away. You know, hooked him up with some monster when he needed it.
That was what you did. You were the Monster Energy drink guy.
No, but you got to make that person feel like they're wanted right away. Make them feel like a big deal. I think Rise, you know, they get 2 really good players. I wouldn't even look at it as you lost like 2 players. I mean, 2 players who didn't want to play if you left, and you acquire 2 players who are very talented who want to play for you. So there's no real disadvantage to where Rise is at.
This is true. This is very true. Moving on, the final game that happened yesterday was an epic clash, which you may remember from Season 3 relegation. Orbit faced off against ISO for kind of initial bragging rights in the season. And honestly, it was a good one, Matt.
Yeah, ISO continues to show how strong they are in respawn game modes, especially Hardpoint. I mean, they win both of those games by a combined margin of 55. Don't even outslay in those.
See, that seems to be the kind of story of this ISO team. We talked about it a lot at the relegation tournament, how this is a team who can get outslayed and still somehow, some way, find a way of pulling out the win. I mean, it's very impressive watching, but as you mentioned, a combined 55 points between both the hard points that they played, and ISO looking very good.
Yeah, and I think ISO going to be one of the better teams in Hardpoint in Season 3, and they're able to win these games without outslaying people. They do have the potential to kind of go crazy in the slaying department, but take a look at ISO at Season 3 relegation in Hardpoint.
So this was at Season 3 relegation,
yep.
right? Okay, so a huge hardpoint record of 10-1. The average score difference was actually plus 56.
About the same, well, last night, a little bit less, but...
Combined KD of 1.06. Key play was actually silly. KD of 1.15. Caps per game almost at 10 there, and defense at 3 per game as well. Now let's check out ISO stats versus Orbit in hardpoint from last night.
Yes.
And it's a little bit different.
Yeah, they go 2-0 again
Okay.
in hardpoint. The average score difference is going to be 27.5, and combined KD, they finish with a .93, so they don't
So a little
finish with
bit-
a positive KD in hardpoint. They win too.
Okay, so a little bit lower than what we're actually used to seeing them with, but still managing to pull out the wins. Like, that's impressive. You got to give a massive prop to kind of their teamwork there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they get outslayed in the hardpoints 303 to 258, and they still manage to win both.
That's impressive. Massive, massive
Yeah.
impressive. But of course, Orbit continue to show how strong they were in Search and Destroy. This has been a team which everyone's kind of looked at in Search and Destroy and been like, okay, these guys, these are good Search and Destroy players.
Right, but they're still struggling in respawn. I mean, they can win all the S&Ds. If you don't win any respawn game modes, you're going to lose those series all the time.
I mean, they won Skyrise, what, narrowly 6-5?
6-5.
So,
Wasn't
Yeah,
a
I
commanding,
guess.
it wasn't
It's-
a commanding win, yeah.
it's a new map. Well, I say new, remastered map, so some of the players should have some experience with
Yes.
it, at least, even if it's, you know, not on a competitive level. They should know the layout of the map.
Right.
But a narrow win like that, 6-5, not the strongest. But what kind of went wrong overall for Orbit and Respawn last night?
I mean, they outslayed all their respawns, and they don't win any of them. Which is weird.
not
We don't
good.
see that. Yeah, we don't see that too often.
That's not good at all.
I mean, the outslaying team in hardpoint won 89% of the time. The average hardpoint kill difference for Orbit was 9 kills. So, kind of odd that they don't win these games and they outslay. The outslaying team in uplink wins 85% of the time. They outslay by 10 kills in that one, and they don't win. So, really
Basically,
odd.
they're going
Right.
against the odds in a
Right.
negative way. It's
Yeah.
like, here's odds which heavily stack in our favor, and we're going
But we're going
against
to do the
this.
opposite, yeah.
Interesting. They should,
Quite odd.
They should probably look at changing that
Yes.
because I mean they have the kills, and that's something I remember TP told me a while ago. It's like if you're outslaying your opposition, it's fine. You can learn to fix whatever's going on. It's if you're just simply not killing the opposition, that's when you know you're going to have some issues. So.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world for all, but of course season only just began, so you don't need to be worrying just yet. But for now, we're going to head over to a quick commercial break. When we return, we're going to be giving our first impressions on some of the new maps in Season 3. Be right back.